Burning it down is where all the rubbish, all the things that they actually within the city actually are dumped in here. And then we actually coming to the place where the locals are living. These people are from Koyari. They are also from the Koilala and the people from around the Port Moresby, and they are the legitimate landowners of the city, Port Moresby.
All I knew about, or a lot of what I knew about Papua New Guinea before I came here, was all about the gold and the oil and all the resources that it has. So it seems ironic and insane that this is where people are living.
Absolutely. I mean, most of these things is not been revealed, and they are not actually, telling anyone about the bad side of the city in here. And I'm, as a Papua New Guinean, I want to highlight this internationally and say this is where the reality, where how people are suffering and living. And for instance, for as a country like Papua New Guinea, the biggest country in the South Pacific, and has so much of resource and minerals and so forth. And I'm sure that there's been a lot of money put into such work, hasn't been really delivered. And who to blame and who to question. But I see it's very important that we need to come out and reveal what is really behind the scene in Port Moresby. And these are the truth, and these are the people that are actually facing a lot of complications in terms of services itself.
The original landowners.
And being original and the real landowners.
What's the biggest problem in PNG?
The biggest problem, I would say, is huge in terms of law and order is concerned. And a lot of leaders and politicians are blaming each other for a lot of issues, what's happening. And we are not really confronting them. We're not really helping them how we should help them in terms of little things. Like kickboxing initiative, what I do is like, it doesn't cost me a lot of money. I get a lot of support sponsors from different companies just to have my program going. And the result itself is amazing in terms of you see the good kids coming out. I mean, most of these kids don't have education background, and they see kickboxing is a life for them in terms of being a better person and changing their attitudes, so they can see a lot of potential in themselves. Not only in education is something that they look at in that perspective, but they can see that they can utilize the potential in a sport in terms of kickboxing and boxing. So I promote both sports where a lot of fighters now are living in offices and becoming or involved in kickboxing as their professional career.
My last question, what do you think the future of PNG is?
Well, for the future of this country, I will speak much on the youth itself. It's very sad for the youth at this stage. There's so much of negligence from the government in terms of the infrastructure itself and the training. And if there's someone has got a lot of ability, a lot of potential, people from the political level is not really seeing that potential. Someone needs to really work hard. For instance, it's myself. I've done a lot of work, which even today I'm involved in. Government is not even stepping in. Oh, Stanley, you have a good idea, you have a good concept. Why can't we help you develop this so that it can reach out to the rest of the youths around the country? I'm doing it for as a one person, and there's only few people that are trying to help me to get this done. And if we can still have the same kind of attitude, then I don't think this country will be changed in terms of the movements of youth. If we can be encouraged in different sectors in terms of not only sports but other areas and focusing on the youth and where the law and order issues is all about, then we can see a lot of changes happening, and we can encourage a lot of tourism and a lot of business happening. Otherwise, if we don't focus on the youth, there'll be a lot of issues still in this country, and we'll be blaming each other, one another, for what's happening.
What do you think is the biggest achievement you've done with your social work in PNG?
I think the achievement that what I have done, apart from my kickboxing career, I am the most proudest man because I see that apart from what I have been doing in kickboxing, there are a lot of other HIV/AIDS athletes has been identified, and I have been still telling them to be a fighter. There's no discrimination. And also there's a message that I'm talking about the HIV/AIDS in this country, and which the awareness is pretty going good. And I know that the program that I'm doing is for the good of this country, and I know that people are pretty much aware of the awareness, and they are actually practicing in a way that they avoid those epidemic what is spreading so widely in this country. So I'm happy that I have taken that initiative to give out that message openly to the people that we can't discriminate. We have to empower women. We have to provide opportunities to kids that are struggling, disadvantaged youths. unprivileged kids to be productive, and they're usable, and they're contributing back into the society for this country. And I think, to me, that's my achievement.
So what do you say to people who say you should run for parliament?
Well, to me, politics is not an objective at the moment. It's not my goal that I want to achieve, because the good politicians actually are really struggling to do better jobs, and the other bad politicians are actually just confusing a lot of system itself. I just want to be a good leader and to be transparent in terms of work that I do, and I wouldn't be able to involve in politics because politics today, it has dropped so much in terms of the corruption itself, and I won't be a good leader if I become a politician. That's the way I see it. I mean, sports, you just talk about good things and being a good role model and being a good person. If I can change one person's life in society, I'll be the real champion. So, I mean, those are the things that I have in, and I like to continue doing it in my country.
Thanks, Stanley. It was a real honour to meet you.
Thank you.
I don't think I've met anyone quite as charismatic.
You're welcome, Camilla. Thank you so
you.
much. Thank you. Hey, I'm Stanley Nandex.
And we are from the Blue Continent.